chemicals, heavy chemicals. So this little series I'm doing is on the 5 stressors. Just to reiterate, the 5 stressors are the 5 things that are really affecting people's health, affecting them from getting well, affecting entire nervous systems, or specifically affecting different glands and organs. Last week we talked about heavy metals. Tonight we're going to talk about heavy chemicals. Now, of course, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of chemicals in our food supply today, and in our environment. They estimate that there's approximately 100,000 chemicals that are potentially hazardous to our health that are in our daily lives.
Oh, wow.
So obviously we don't have time to talk about all of those, nor would I even be able to...
Thank you.
So we'll probably focus on, about 6 or 7 of the key ones. And I'm actually going to kind of go through my test kit because I have them all listed right here. And we won't hit, like I said, even all of these in the test kit, but I want to hit some major ones. The first thing we're going to talk about, and it's the page 1 of your handout, and it's one that we come across a lot, is chlorine. Now, a lot of people know that chlorine is can be toxic in high amounts. Does anybody have any chlorine stories? No chlorine stories? Okay, I've actually known people who have been swimmers who have really had a lot of problems from chlorine toxicity. Chlorine is one of the major things affecting people's thyroids today. So we've talked a lot about thyroid health and a lot of contaminants, metals like mercury. Chemical-wise, chlorine is one that often affects the thyroid gland. So chlorine is found most abundantly, where are we getting chlorine?
Swimming pools.
Swimming pools.
Drinking water.
And our tap water. Why do they put chlorine in tap water? In our drinking water?
To kill
Yeah,
things.
because it kills things. Yeah. And, it won't kill us right away, but eventually it will. So, but that's why it's put in the water supply, just to kill bugs, basically. But there's very, very high amounts of it. It's interesting, when I went to Florida and I did the training on this, the nutrition response testing, they use a different type of chlorine because chlorine kind of has that chlorine gas smell. You kind of know that funky chlorine smell? Well, in Florida they actually use a different form of chlorine, and the reason they use a different form of chlorine is because it doesn't have that smell. They don't want to scare away the tourists. So they use a different form of chlorine, and I think it's on here. Oh yeah, it's called chloramine. What it is, it's a blend of chlorine and ammonia, and it takes away the smell, but it's actually more toxic than just chlorine itself. And it's really interesting, when I went to do the training down there and they tested me, I had a blockage in my nervous system when they did the check on me. My nervous system was blocked from chlorine. And he said that very often happens to people when they go travel to Florida, just from showering in the tap water, like at the hotels or whatever, that quickly the chlorine can affect your system, where it affects your body and your nervous system. So it affected me that quickly. After a few days of being there, chlorine was showing up in my nervous system.
How do you mean it blocked it? What did your body do? Because it was blocked.
It's just through the testing that they find that there's a blockage in your nervous system, and when they find there's a blockage in the nervous system, it's always one of the 5 stressors. So that's why we're doing the class on the 5 stressors. So when I test people and I find a blockage in their nervous system, it's one of the 5 things that we're doing the classes on. The heavy metals, the heavy chemicals, the immune challenges, the scars, the food allergies, and food sensitivities. Now if you find that it's heavy chemicals, you kind of got to go through and find out which one it is. Okay, because it could be any one of these 17 things that are in here. It's definitely one of those things. But chlorine is one that obviously shows up quite a bit. Yes?
Could you do that instead of having a hair analysis, or is that a little bit more detailed if you have a hair analysis?
Hair analysis is a little different because it actually checks mineral levels, mineral deficiencies, mineral imbalances. You can find out heavy metals through hair analysis, but you're really not going to find out any of these chemical toxicities through a hair mineral analysis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we can move on from chlorine, but a way to get chlorine out is obviously to have filtered water. Okay, chlorine's really hard to get out, but there are some good filters you can get chlorine out. You can buy a shower filter. Even $30, $40 shower filters at Home Depot and Walmart gets out the chlorine for the most part. So there's some easy things you can do. So cheap shower filters. I sell shower filters here. Of course, mine are a little fancier. It actually takes out the chlorine, the fluoride, all the heavy stuff, and it actually has minerals that the water goes through the minerals, actually mineralizes your body with healthy minerals.
Oh.
So that's how my shower filter works that I have here. So a great investment if anybody wants it. I definitely have a shower filter. A lot of people actually will travel. People that travel a lot will travel with their shower filters because it's really easy just to hook up to the shower, even if they're at a hotel. It takes 1 minute. So it's something you can do just to protect yourself. Now let me say before we get into all these heavy chemicals, I think it's important to realize that we live in an age where we have a lot of information available to us. And if you learn about all these heavy chemicals and you start to worry about it or start to try to remove them all from your house all at once, you're probably going to go insane. Okay? So I just want to make that point because there's a lot of information out there and a lot of things coming out about this is bad, this is toxic, this is dangerous, watch out for this, you know. And it can be overwhelming. So I just want to just tell everybody to just kind of take a breath, relax. We do live in a toxic world. Let's learn about some of the major ones and some simple things you can do, but definitely don't stress out about every single one of them. You know, you don't have to, we're going to learn about, you know, let's say aluminum is bad. You know, you don't have to necessarily go home and throw away your aluminum pots and pans and spend $300 on a new set, like tomorrow. You know what I mean? So we want to educate ourselves about these things, but we don't necessarily have to jump to conclusions and, you know. And the cool thing about it is the way you get chemicals out of the body is the same way you get metals out of the body, which most of you guys were here last week about the heavy metal talk. It's really the same protocol. The parotid to strengthen the salivary glands that produces enzymes to break the chemicals and metals out of the body, and then something that draws it like a magnet, like the bentonite clays and the zeolites and things like that. We'll draw those things, bind them, and pull them out. Okay, so the next one, let's see. The next one in my kit is actually dry cleaning fluid. I'm just going to kind of mention these so you know that, and they're not all going to be in your packets, but I wanted to mention them to you because I want you to know that these are the major things showing up in people affecting their health. Okay, so chlorine. Now we have dry cleaning fluid. So dry cleaning fluid creates a byproduct called dioxin, which are very, very, very dangerous chemical that gets into the air. I believe it's actually a byproduct from chlorine. Don't quote me on that, but I think dioxin is a byproduct from chlorine because dioxins are talked a lot about in manufacturing, like when they make paper towels and toilet paper and things like that. Okay, they actually bleach it, and the byproduct of that is these dioxins, and these chemical factories are very toxic. People living around these chemical factories get very sick. People who work in the factories get very sick and have to have a lot of breathing masks and things like that. I mean, just very, very toxic chemicals. And dry cleaning fluid is one of those. So if you get your clothes dry cleaned, I don't get my clothes dry cleaned, but I'm pretty sure you can ask them to wash it, like to wash it instead of actually using all the chemicals. I don't know exactly what you asked for, but they can definitely do it in a way without using these toxic chemicals. Let me just put it at that. Okay, but if you can get away from dry cleaning, you know, there's a lot of chemicals used in dry cleaning. The next one is really interesting. It's food dyes and food colorings. And I did give you a nice little write-up in the handout today on that. So I guess the obvious question would be, why are we using food dyes? Why are we using artificial colorings? Where do they come from? And why are they showing up as a major chemical toxicity in people's body? And if that's the case, why are we using them? Why do they exist in our food supply? Well, as most of you are probably aware, and you've probably heard me say more than 100 times, the food that you're buying and the companies that are responsible for the food you're buying aren't really overly concerned about your health. They're really overly concerned about their profit and their pocketbook. So what's going to make you buy fruit. What do you look for when you go buy fruit?
Color. Color.
Color,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
It's got to be bright and shiny and pretty, and saying, "Eat me." It's
Yeah.
glowing.
Yeah,
It's like
too.
glowing. Eat me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So if we went straight to an orchard and picked a fresh orange off a tree and it had kind of a dullish, light orange, yellowish color, and then right next to it we had some oranges that were bright orange,
Mhm.
which ones are we going to be drawn to buy? Obvious, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So this is one of the reasons that these food dyes exist. Now, if you knew where the food dyes come from, which most people probably don't, does anybody know where food dyes come from in these food colorings?
Oil byproduct.
It's an oil byproduct.
Yeah.
So they're all coal tar derivatives. It's basically petroleum. It's oil. Okay? So there's a lot of things in our food supply that we're consuming that are the petroleum byproducts. If you had any idea of how many things we consume that are oil, Vaseline, right? It's petroleum. Plastics, all our plastics, it's petroleum. These food dyes and food colorings, it's petroleum. It's really kind of frightening. I wouldn't ever think of petroleum as like a food. That's just me. I mean, if I saw some oil, I wouldn't say, I'm going to try that and see how that tastes, But it's in our food supply and we're eating it. And we're eating it. And it's causing problems in people. Directly linked to ADHD in children. Specifically, it's yellow. I think he talks about it in here. I think it's yellow number 2. I'm pretty sure it's yellow number 2. They've done a lot of studies on it, linking it to ADHD. It's on the second page of the food coloring handout I gave you. So all of these red number 5, blue lake number 40, yellow number 2, you really want to avoid these things at all costs. I have seen this come up in people as affecting their health. And it's a chemical, and it has to be removed from the body. So the best thing to do is to avoid these things, obviously. Read food labels. It's a pretty safe bet that these food colorings are going to be in pretty much all candy.
Do they dump oranges in food coloring?
Say again?
Do they dump oranges in food coloring? The fruit, orange fruit?
Yes, they put food coloring in oranges.
Wow.
Okay, so here's what's interesting. I'll go back to the candy. So here's what's interesting. They know that these chemicals are toxic. And they've actually been outlawed for certain fruits because they know that if we consume them, they're toxic. They allow them on oranges. Why? Because we peel the orange, and so they say, oh, well, we peel the orange and you don't eat that part anyway, so it's not a big deal. Okay, that is just insane to me. You're still putting a poisonous toxin on the fruit, and saying it's okay just because you peel it.
But we do eat it sometimes in recipes. They say
Yeah, like the zest, the orange peel. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, we grate it and put it in things.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
You have to really scrub it first, though.
I don't do it that often.
So yeah, these are found in
Does it come off? I mean,
even our fruits.
Do you rub it off with your fingers, or does it come out in the water? It's
It's
not
a
water
dye.
soluble?
It's a dye. It stains. Have you ever got those food colorings or food dyes on your skin?
They stay.
They stain. They stay, and they take a while to dissipate, and they absorb right into your skin immediately. So, I need to get you a handout.
Those chemical plants you said that people...
That's okay.
Well, it's kind of hard to find.
I
but
know,
it's
and the
very
weather,
easy.
and
It's
I know.
very easy, but I mean...
Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Those chemical plants that you said that people wear masks for,
Yes.
the chlorine gets into their skin. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Is there anything, of course, there's something they can take to help get rid of that, isn't there?
Sure. I mean, it'd be the same kind of thing
Yeah,
we're
the same
talking.
kind of-
Same kind of things we're talking about. And I'll mention some of those again at the end. But that's a good point you make. When we're talking about these chemicals, because when you see some of the other ones we get into, one thing that is important to realize is that if it touches your skin, it's in your body and it's in your bloodstream. For some reason, we have this total disconnect in our society that if you eat it, it's dangerous and bad for you, but it's okay to rub on your skin. Okay, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, things, as soon as it hits your skin, it's immediate. I can give you a lot of examples. Let's give one example. Lipstick. Okay? What was happening with lipstick a few decades ago?
The red.
Oh,
It was lead.
Lead. Exactly. You're not eating the lipstick, are you? People were getting lead poisoning and were actually dying from putting on lipstick. Okay? Anything you put on your skin or on your body absorbs into your bloodstream and will affect your health. So it's a very important thing to realize, especially when we're talking about these chemicals. Well, we'll get to fluoride later. That's an example that just boggles my mind. But, okay, so food dyes. I think that's about it on food dyes. They're petroleum-based. They're not food. They're linked to many illnesses. They're illegal in many countries. And you want to avoid them. The easiest way to avoid them is to buy organic when it comes to your fruits and vegetables, and to read the back of packages. You know, they're in a surprising amount of things. Again, companies want things to look bright and shiny so that you'll buy them. And that's why they're using these things. And then the last thing is pretty interesting. I don't know. To me, he talks about this as it's bad, and I guess it is bad, but to me it's better than petroleum. But the red color dye, there's one called carmine. You'll see that in a lot of beauty products, actually, or carmine.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
It is actually from ground up beetles. That's where that red dye comes from. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of gross, but to me, I'd actually eat the ground up beetles over petroleum, over the other ones. So I don't know, I just thought I'd throw that out there. But that is on the last page of that food dye handout. So going down to the next one here, I have food preservatives. Okay, I'm not going to go into the list of those, but there's a lot of preservatives being used in our food supply. Why? So that the food doesn't spoil, so that the companies can have a longer shelf life and not lose profit. And a lot of these preservatives are dangerous too, so you want to avoid food preservatives. The next one I'll talk a little bit about is formaldehyde. Okay, who knows where we get formaldehyde? Any ideas on formaldehyde?
It's the same as.
Anybody ever work in a laboratory? Okay, formaldehyde is used for embalming bodies so that they don't spoil. Okay.
Same as antifreeze, isn't it?
It's not exactly the same.
It's
It
close.
probably would have the same effect. But formaldehyde, I've actually tested people. Chemicals came up. When I went through the chemicals, formaldehyde is the one I found. And I said, is there any reason that you think you might have formaldehyde? Because sometimes we just don't know where these things come from. She's like, no, can't really think of where I would have got formaldehyde. So we're like, okay, well, we continue on through the testing, and it hit her. She's like, oh my gosh, I went to school, and when I was in med school, I worked in a cadaver laboratory for 2 years. I mean, you're touching formaldehyde all day long. It's the embalming fluid that's on these cadavers. So you get, and plus you're breathing it in, you know, so major toxin. So labs, obviously you can get formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is also used in a lot of building materials. Okay, so a lot of carpets and vinyls and just a lot of things that they use in building materials today. People are really getting sick from new homes.
They have it in travel trailers a lot.
Yeah, bingo. Travel trailers use a lot of that stuff. Yeah, good call. Yeah, they use a lot of that stuff in those travel trailers. So that just, again, something to be aware of. The other major source of formaldehyde, which I don't know, this is a huge one. It's in something that many Americans are addicted to. Any idea? You already see it on there?
Diet soda.
The diet soda.
Yeah.
Okay, now if you look on the back of a can of diet soda, does it list formaldehyde in the ingredients?
No.
No. But that aspartame, that chemical poison that's in there, which would be another one of your chemical toxins, converts to formaldehyde in the body. You're basically embalming yourself
Wow.
by drinking diet soda. It is, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous things that Americans put in their body. Soda of any kind, but diet soda hands down the worst. And to me, it's sickening that the American Diabetic Association recommends people drink diet soda because it doesn't have any sugar. It's total ignorance. They know how dangerous it is, but it's not about health. All right, it's all about big companies and marketing and advertising and things like that. So we have to make sure we're educated on the dangers of these things and tell people you love. I mean, there's nothing you can do more for a loved one than get them off of soda, specifically diet soda. And I'm not saying it's easy because it's a very addictive substance. I never got hooked on diet soda. I was hooked on regular soda. And I mean, we're talking Pepsi, Mountain Dew, like all of it, you know, lots of it. And it's hard. You know, it's hard to get off it because it is addictive. But very, very dangerous. So here's something that's fascinating. If you took a culture, now let's just say like an Asian culture who ate more of their standard diet of fruits and vegetables and, you know, not processed foods like we do here in America. So let's say you took somebody who had passed away from an Asian culture eating their traditional diet, and you took an American who had passed away, they were the same age, and you had the two bodies there, which one would decompose faster?
The Asian.
The Asian. Why?
Because of what is in the chemicals that we have in our body. That's what they proved in the Korean War. Because the Chinese soldiers started deteriorating, they could ship the Americans home.
Yep. So there you go. This is nothing new. I mean, they've been studying this a long time. Americans, and I don't want to say Americans are the slowest nationality to decompose in the world. I don't know that. Okay, but we know for a fact that American bodies decompose very slowly compared to other cultures. And the reason is because we are full of chemicals and preservatives and formaldehyde and all of these things. That to me is just a scary thought right there. So just thought I'd mention that. So that's it on formaldehyde. The next one is heavy chemicals. Now I can't tell you what's all in this because there's like 300 different things in here, but I'm going to only talk about one that's in this heavy chemical category. And heavy chemicals means like these are the bad boys. Okay, this can be like
Yeah.
what's that?
What they, Agent Orange.
Yeah, some of those kind of things, like super contaminants, like Agent Orange, like stuff used in nuclear warfare and nerve gas, and you know some of these major things. One of the things that's in this heavy chemical category, because it is one of the single most dangerous chemicals known on the entire planet, is something that people drink every single day. What is it?
Fluoride.
Fluoride. One of the most dangerous chemicals on the planet. Still being sold to us as a health food for our teeth. It's sickening. I have hundreds of articles on the dangers of fluoride. I highly recommend and encourage mothers to ask their dentist not to give their children fluoride. Okay, it is a chemical poison. If you know the history of fluoride, you would find that it was in World War II, it was used as an ingredient to make the bomb. And the chemical aluminum company Alcoa was making this ingredient. And it's a byproduct of the aluminum industry, fluoride. It was so toxic that they couldn't dump it anywhere. They couldn't dump it in like the city dump, for example. It was too toxic because it would leak into the water supply and poison the rivers and everything like that. So what they did is they basically fudged some studies to quote unquote prove that it was good for teeth. And they started putting it in drinking water because, again, the stuff was so contaminated that they couldn't dump it anywhere. So instead, they've sold it to the American public as a health food. And so not only do they have a place to put it now, they actually make money off of it. This is what companies do. You know, they make money at our expense while poisoning us. There's a huge battle right now all over the country of people trying to get fluoride out of their water supply. I mean, this has been going on for 70 years.
Do they state that like the level of fluoride it's not danger for us? Like even when you go to the dentist, this is what they state, that it's not danger at all, just like the level?
Right. So to me, that's a very twisted way of thinking.
Okay.
Okay? Why would you put something in your body that's toxic, that you know is toxic, you know is poisonous, it would kill a rat in a study, it shows up in your body, in your bloodstream, okay? Why would you put just a little bit that's not quite enough to potentially be toxic? It just doesn't make sense. But again, that's something that I think we've been kind of brainwashed with. It's okay if you have a little bit of this stuff. You know, the joke I always tell people is the FDA is really good at controlling substances that would kill you, like if you consume them, and it would kill you like in an hour or the next day. But if it kills you slowly, they have no regulation on it. Okay? There's so many chemicals in our food supply that are killing us slowly. Now, in laboratory studies, I mean, they're causing rats to have tumors and die in days or weeks. But humans, you know, we're more resilient. We can take it longer. You know, so it kills us in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And that's okay by their standards. But a lot of other countries fight these things. I mean, these things are illegal in a lot of other countries. But unfortunately, America, there's just a lot of politics and money involved that really affects a lot of these things. So, fluoride, this is a good point. You know, mentioned the safe amount, right? What's a safe amount? What does it say on the back of a box of toothpaste, like Crest or AIM or Aquafresh or one of those name brand toothpastes? What is the warning on it?
Don't let your kids use it without supervision.
Yeah, don't let your kids use it without supervision. If swallowed, contact Poison Control Center immediately. Okay? Why?
Because it gets into your system faster.
What's in it?
Fluoride.
Fluoride. It's a known contaminant. It's a known toxin. It's a known poison. So don't swallow it or you're going to go to the Poison Control Center, but go ahead and brush your teeth with it because it won't get into your body if you just brush your teeth with it.
Get through your gums.
Total ignorance.
Yeah.
Complete ignorance. And we're drinking it in our water supply.
Is there
So that's why there's a battle going on right now with people trying to get it out of their water supply because they know it's toxic.
Is there a filter that will take out fluoride?
I can't really answer that question. I say any filter is better than no filter. Distilled is going to pretty safely take out everything, but you got to make sure you add minerals back into it. But even a lot of the best filters out there will take out some of the fluoride, but it's such a nasty, nasty chemical that it's really hard to get it all out.
How about the filter, the big one that they put like inside the house? Have you heard about that? They put like...
Yeah, it's not going to get all the fluoride out.
But I mean,
it's
better than...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, some type of filter is better than no filter at all because there's so many contaminants in our water supply. Chlorine and fluoride being the big two. So, yeah.
Those 4-stage filters in a grocery store where you buy a bottle of water, those are pretty good, aren't they?
That's what I do. I mean, you don't have a lot of choices, you know?
Yeah.
So, that's what I would do.
Did you say fluoride's a byproduct of what?
Aluminum manufacturing.
aluminum?
Aluminum manufacturing. Mhm.
Oh.
And people, you know, and then they say, well, it's a mineral for your teeth, and it's a healthy mineral for your teeth. Look at your chemistry book. Okay? On the periodic table, there's a mineral called fluorine, not fluoride. It's a toxic byproduct. It's a toxic chemical byproduct. And by the way, there's absolutely not one shred of proof that it does anything for the health of teeth or cavities or strengthening teeth or anything like that. I mean, to me, our whole dental system, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but our whole dental system is a complete and total joke. I mean, I've talked about Dr. Weston Price in other classes before. He traveled around the country, or I'm sorry, traveled around the world and studied multiple different cultures. And he said, on average, he had to look in 8 different mouths to find one cavity. Okay, if brushing our teeth twice a day and flossing and swishing fluoride in our mouth every day prevented tooth decay, then why does every American have a mouthful of crowns and fillings and gingivitis and getting root canals? I mean, give me a break, you know? I mean, it's our diet, it's our diet, it's our diet. It's the food we eat, period, period, period. There's no, you know, Dr. Weston Price proved this 70 years ago. We just ignore the research. So it's all diet. It's all diet. The next one is, it's kind of interesting, is medications, actually. Medications are synthetic. They are toxic. It's not a secret that medications are toxic. Listen to any drug ad on the TV and they will tell you the 7 to 20 things that it might cause, even potentially death. So it's pretty obvious that they're not a safe thing to consume. Unfortunately, in our society today, in our medical system, we aren't given any other choices. So you have to do research on your own.
There's a lot of good documentaries that I've been seeing about that, like how, you know, medication is killing like millions of Americans every year.
Right. Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, and more of that's coming out. Yeah,
and
definitely.
they say like it's very unlikely that, you know, maybe 5 people will die by vitamins in like, you know, many years, but I mean every year. I can remember by the top of the head.
They actually did a study, and this is from the, I don't remember the exact name of the organization, but it's the overall American Poison Control Agency. I don't know the exact acronym or the exact name, but it's the American Poison Control Agency. And they did a study, and this was 2009, so 2 years ago, and they checked lab work and medical records from hospitals all around the country, and they found 0 deaths from vitamins, minerals, or any natural supplements. Literally 0 deaths. Now, do you guys know, I mean, I mentioned it in class before, do you know how many people are killed every year from pharmaceutical drugs?
100,000.
Over 100,000, about 130,000, because the numbers keep going up.
So not millions, thousands, okay,
But that's every year.
every year.
That's the equivalent of a jumbo jet falling out of the sky every single day and killing 250 people. That would be major news. Why isn't pharmaceutical drugs killing hundreds of people every day not major headline news? I don't want to tell you why, but it's a very sick, greedy, money-hungry industry. I will tell you that the way pharmaceutical drugs work, because I think this is important for people to know, the reason the first check I do is a nervous system check to see if any of these things are affecting the nervous system is because if your nervous system's affected and unhealthy and having problems, it's going to affect the ability of your body to heal. If your body wants to heal a liver or a pancreas or some part of your body, if your nervous system is damaged or not functioning properly, it's hard to heal the body. What pharmaceutical drugs do is they bypass the nervous system. They like jump over the nervous system and force an action on the body to stop a symptom. So the reason that's important to know is there's not a pharmaceutical drug on the market that encourages and increases health. It has nothing to do with health restoration. We know that, again, because there's 20 to 50 side effects for these drugs. So it does nothing to restore health. What it does is it suppresses a symptom. And suppressing a symptom obviously doesn't build health. So, you know, again, I just think it's important we find other alternatives because, gosh, there was another point I was going to make about the pharmaceutical drugs. So whatever you have going on that you're taking a drug for, there's a reason that started in the first place. There's a reason we have high blood pressure. There's a reason we have diabetes. There's a reason, there's a reason for it. Okay, the pharmaceutical drug isn't the fix to that. What it does is it suppresses the symptom. What suppressing the symptom does not do is it does not stop the disease process. It overrides your nervous system to force an action on the body to suppress the symptom. Does not stop the disease process. One of the obvious ones in this is diabetes. Okay, Okay? You can take metformin and insulin shots for the rest of your life and still lose your feet and still lose your eyesight and still be completely poisoned by the sugar that's entering your body. Okay? But to them it's a success because, well, your blood sugar levels are normal because you're pumping insulin in your body and taking metformin. Doesn't stop the disease process. I don't know, if I'm sick, I want to stop and reverse the disease process. So, medications, I kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent, but medications are toxic to the body. It's not a way to restore health. I mean, to me, it's surprising that the medical community hasn't at least introduced a little bit of natural therapy to maybe at least give them a little bit of credibility, because people know now that medications are killing people. It's not health food. It's not health care. It's sick care. It's disease care.
And you treat something, you fix something, and something else gets bad.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point too.
then now you need to take your medicine for something else,
Right.
and then and
You see that a
goes
lot.
on.
People take X pill for high blood pressure. Okay, again, it overrides their nervous system and calcium channel blocker, whatever kind of blood pressure it is, doesn't stop the disease process. The medication's toxic, so it damages the kidney. So now your kidneys aren't functioning, so now you take this drug like a diuretic to force water out of your kidneys, and then that causes liver damage. And that's how in 5 years people are on 15 medications. Because the medication's causing more disease that the medications won't fix that cause more disease, so you take more medication. You know, there's nothing ever done to restore health. That's why people just keep getting sick in America and don't get well. Does that make sense? Okay. So, the next one, I know that's kind of a touchy subject. I want to show you guys this because I thought it was pretty interesting. Again, if you knew the history of fluoride, it would scare the bejeebies out of you. Okay, like I said, it's a known toxin. Fluoride was put in all the water in Nazi prison camps in World War II. Okay, because it damages people's nervous system. Fluoride was a main ingredient. Is found in Prozac. Okay, and it's in sarin nerve gas, which is used in warfare. So the question is, why is it? This is kind of like a little cartoon. So why is it added to water supplies in the United States? Why doesn't anyone care? Because they're all on fluoride. Yeah. So I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but there's a lot of information out there showing that there's a lot of junk in our food supply that wants to make us dumb and sick. Because there's a lot of money to be made off of dumb and sick people. So just keep that in mind.
Wow.
The next one is pesticides. And pesticides, you know, we know the easy way to overcome that. Buy organic. Wash your fruits and vegetables. We've known pesticides have been toxic since they came out. I mean, you guys remember DDT? When was that? The 50s? 50s and 60s? DDT. They were spraying the fields with DDTs. Worked great for killing those bugs, but it also worked great for killing those birds and killing those farmers too. So they had to get rid of the DDT. What's amazing, this will show you how toxic these chemicals are. DDT's been gone for decades, illegal for decades. Now, of course, there's hundreds of other pesticides that are toxic that are still being used. The DDT is gone. It has to be pretty bad for the FDA to actually get rid of something. Like, it actually has to have killed a certain amount of people for them to actually outlaw it. But if you do a test, like I don't know if it's a blood test or a tissue test, but DDT is still showing up in the tissues of people to this day, and it's been out of our food supply for decades. These chemicals don't go away. That's how toxic they are. So it's just interesting to note. Next one is perfumes and fragrances. Okay, where do perfumes and fragrances come from? Okay, somebody didn't like squeeze an apple and put it in a spray jar, right? I mean, they're all chemicals. They're all chemicals. I have actually seen quite a few women who have worked in beauty parlors for years that are very, very sick and very, very toxic. I have a friend. This is a perfect story to share with you guys right now. Perfect. I'm not going to name her by name, but it is a friend of mine, and she is doing a kind of a detox cleanse right now. It's really more for spiritual reasons. She's fasting for spiritual reasons. And she is, I don't know how far she is. I'd say she's about a week into it, basically doing a water and juice fast. About a week into it, her scalp started to kind of hurt and kind of itch a little bit. And she's letting me know, and she's like, what do you think that is? And I said, probably just a detox reaction. I don't know for sure. Next day, it got worse. Okay, now there's little bumps and sores and little whiteheads popping out all over her head. Okay? For years, she has dyed her hair, chemical dyes, okay, hairspray, all of these chemicals and things we put in our hair. Again, if it touches our skin, it's what? It's in our body. So these things have accumulated in her tissues from using all these chemicals in her hair over the years. Finally, after not eating for a week, the body finally has the ability now to try to push that junk out. And that's a good thing. She's not real happy about it right now, but these things will store in the body until the body has the chance or the ability to get rid of them. So that's why cleansing is good. That's why fasting can be good for health reasons too. It's a way for our body to cleanse and detox some of this stuff out. So I just thought that was an interesting story because that's actually occurring like right now. So perfumes and fragrances. Yeah, I mean, man, some people are super sensitive to those things. Super sensitive to those smells. I mean, who wouldn't be? Those things are like...
And all the nail stuff stinks too. You know, when you have fake nails,
Yeah.
all that stuff
Yeah.
smells.
All that. I mean, walk into a beauty salon and it's like...
Yeah.
I know.
I mean...
It's terrible.
It is. It is. It is terrible. So, but in all seriousness, I just really encourage, women. Men don't use the stuff so much, but women, to really find some more natural things.
Like what?
Yeah.
Well, there's mineral makeup. There's lots because this
For
is
dyes
or
like henna,
makeup, like henna. Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Indian people use
Yes.
henna. So I'm guessing, yeah, they die very, very old. So I'm guessing maybe safe,
Yes. Yeah. The henna is good, and there's all kinds of tons and tons of natural cosmetic lines out there now because it's such a big issue. So you can definitely find them. The next one is, let me see if I have an article on it. I don't remember what all I gave you. Okay, I gave you a general one on toxins that talks about pesticides, dioxins. We mentioned that a little bit.
Chloroform.
Interesting. Yeah, chloroform. Oh, then there's some here. It's called the price tag of convenience and beauty. It names some of the top known cancer-causing products, and it actually calls them by name, like the Lysol disinfectant, Ajax cleansers, a lot of the CoverGirl products, Clairol products. Interesting, Crest tartar control toothpaste is on this list of one of the most known cancer-causing products. Johnson & Johnson baby powder. I mean, to me, it's sick and it's really sad that we have these known chemical toxins in our food supply, and these companies, for profit, allow them to put them on our babies. I mean, if we want to put them on ourselves because we don't care, so be it. But to put it on a baby who doesn't, I mean, baby powder on a baby, and then petroleum jelly, like rubbing motor oil on your baby, petroleum jelly. I mean, it's disgusting.
Right,
You
now
know?
Johnson Johnson's trying to fight on their baby shampoo.
Oh, they're trying to fight
Fight to keep
lawsuits against it.
Because lawsuits are, people are suing them.
I
over
believe
baby
it.
shampoo.
Yeah, I believe it.
What is it about the baby powder with talc?
Really, really high in. I don't know exactly what talc is, but I want to say that the baby powders are really high in aluminum. Okay, so we're going to talk about, I only got a couple left. I'll talk about radiation real quick. This is one that was just added to my kit because it's been such an issue now because so many people getting a lot of x-rays, mammograms, which about a third of breast cancer is actually caused by the mammograms. This is a documented study that was done in Europe that a third of cancers is caused from the mammogram x-rays.
Right. Yeah.
So don't get a mammogram.
Yeah.
There's a big billboard out here advertising mammograms.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, go next door right here and get a thermogram.
Yeah, I've had it.
It's more accurate and it's prevention. They sell mammograms as a prevention. How is it prevention? Nothing shows on a mammogram unless you have a cyst or a tumor. It's not prevention. That's saying, hey, you have a cyst or a tumor.
I heard
It's-
that it's 8 years. A mammogram wouldn't pick it up if you had something for 8 years because it got big enough that the mammogram finally sees it. And
Right.
you had it all that time.
Exactly. Yeah, so it has to be a certain size to show on a mammogram. So that's not prevention. It's all lies.
Right.
It's all lies. And it's so invasive and so damaging to the lymph and invasive. It's just, I don't know, I just don't understand our medical system at all. So radiation. A lot of people getting radiation treatments with cancer. Okay? You know, again, very toxic to the body. The last one I'm going to talk about is plastics. This is a tough one because, you know, I dare anybody to completely remove all plastics from their life. It's really,
Can't be done.
really hard.
You mean the ones that you put the food, and you put in the microwave? These ones that you mean?
Just any
the one
plastic.
that you heat, like.
Any plastic. All plastic is from petroleum. It's all petroleum based. All plastic is petroleum. Now, okay, I shouldn't say all plastic. They're actually making some quote unquote plastic out of corn and some different materials now. You know, you can actually buy lettuce in the grocery store and it's made from corn. Okay? So it's better than petroleum. But most of the stuff's petroleum. The reason plastics are so dangerous is because of BPA, bisphenol A, which is an estrogenic mimicking compound that completely disrupts our hormonal system. Yes.
But how long needs the food to be in contact with that to really, you know, for us to absorb that?
Right.
Like,
So-
let's say I go to buy strawberries in the grocery, and of course it is not plastic. So
don't, I said in the beginning before you got here, don't let this stuff like drive you crazy.
okay.
It's all around us. It's part of our food supply. We'll educate ourselves about it and we'll kind of maybe start removing one or two things here and there. But you can't worry about everything. I wouldn't worry about the plastic container my strawberries come in, but I think this might answer your question. When plastic leaches, in other words, those estrogenic compounds come out of the plastics is when it's heated and when it's frozen. So you don't want to take things in and out of the freezer or microwave plastic, take things in and out of the
I
heat.
don't store anymore in plastic.
Yeah, so you wouldn't want to store things in
Just
plastic
glass,
ideally.
yeah.
Just glass, exactly,
glass.
exactly. Drinking water, things like that. I'll tell you the most dangerous water to drink.
Bottles.
Buddy, have a guess?
The bottles.
Bottled water, but what bottled water specifically? If it's in plastic. Distilled water.
And plastic.
Oh, because it'll leach stuff out of the
Yes,
plastic.
distilled water is completely void of everything. All minerals, everything has been taken out. So that water is hungry to be filled with something.
Oh.
So what they do is these chemical factories, and by the way, some of the, what was the movie? There's two movies that are really good. One is called Flow, and one is called Tapped. Tapped, I think, is the one that exposes the bottled water industry. And it talks about the chemical factories where the plastic is being manufactured in Texas, and all the people that live around the chemical factory have cancer. They have like 100 and some, I can't remember what the rate is, a ridiculously higher rate than the national average of cancer that live directly within 1 mile of this chemical factory.
It's so kind, right? Do you want a bottle of water?
Oh, I know. So this movie really exposes the bottled water industry. First of all, bottled water is not regulated, so it's not any better than anything else you're drinking. They actually go into cities and just pull out their tap water and run it through their filters and sell it back to you. They're basically selling tap water back to you, and the average markup on a bottle of water is 1,900%. Costs them about 5 to 6 cents to make a bottle of water, and you pay about $1 to $2 for it.
Used to, you could get bottled water in glass,
Right.
but you can't.
Mountain Valley spring water is in
Used-
glass. There's a couple you can, but yeah.
It's still, well, even Mountain Valley has some that comes in plastic.
Mm-hmm.
But used to, you got all your bottled water in glass.
Yep. So it leaches when you heat it and when you freeze it. So good to know. Now, it's hard for us to understand the potential dangers of these things because they're kind of invisible to us and we don't really feel it or sense it. Again, it shows up sometimes when I test people, but there are, and I only know of one example I can think of off the top of my head. I know, there's hundreds because there's a lot of articles, and this movie really exposes a lot of this. There's a scientist on there that says these BPAs, these estrogenic compounds in plastics, he said it's going to be the absolute downfall of the plastic industry, and it's going to be a huge, huge, huge controversial thing in the next few years. But it's not going to happen until how anything happens in America. Enough lawsuits are filed, enough people are killed or maimed. Okay, companies aren't going to make a change and affect their profit line until they're forced to. And the only thing that forces that are deaths and lawsuits. Did you know that pharmaceutical companies, and if a pharmaceutical reps have shared this information, there's pharmaceutical reps who in their heart could not do what they're doing anymore and have exposed a lot of these things that's going on. But a lot of these big companies, and especially these pharmaceutical industries, they actually have lawyers that keep track of how many dollars are coming in on the drug and how many dollars are going out on lawsuits. And when the money going out on lawsuits gets close to where it's going to affect the money coming in, that's when they pull the drug off the market. So again, how many people are being maimed and killed by these chemicals knowingly for profit until something's done about it? So plastics is going to be no different. There are scientists saying this is the most dangerous stuff out there. It is affecting the lives of millions of people, but it's not going to be exposed until, again, there's enough research, information, research studies, lawsuits, whatever it takes. Okay, because the companies aren't going to admit it.
The ones that they claim that's BPA free, is that
Yes. Definitely get BPA free.
Okay.
That's your best bet. So one of the ways that's just really fascinating, and they talked about this in the movies, I think it was probably the Tapped movie, that we know this is a big deal, is we're seeing what's the effect of these plastics are in nature. The Seine River that cuts through Paris, the fish in the Seine River are almost all 100% female. Male fish aren't being produced anymore. Why? Because the plastics are estrogenic. The males are being turned into females.
Wow. Crazy.
It is crazy. So how can we not think that that's going to affect us?
Yeah.
How about all the medical things that flush in our toilet? What happened with that medical residual?
That's why you don't drink tap water. They have actually found traces of lots of different pharmaceutical drugs in the tap water.
What's the name of the other movie? Is it Taps and
Flow.
FLO?
FLOW. Flow is a movie about, and I hope I got that right. Tapped is the one that exposes the bottled water industry. Flow, have you seen it?
No, but I almost saw. But
Okay.
I haven't seen, but there's a bottle of water there.
Right.
In the-
Flow is the one that talks about just how crucial water is around the world, and how water is being, instead of water being a resource that should be available, a free resource available to people, it's being now sold as a commodity. Because again, people and companies are greedy. And if there's money to be made, they're going to go after it. What do you guys think of the largest industries in the entire world?
Water,
Water's one.
electricity.
Petroleum.
Electricity is one, and
Petroleum.
petroleum and oil is the third. Okay, so the number one resource in this world is oil. Okay, that's why you see so much going on with oil and wars and da 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 about oil. Okay, that's why when the electric car came out in the 70s and got really popular, they recalled them all and crushed them because it was going to affect the oil industry.
There's a movie about that.
Yeah, there's a movie about that. It's called Who Killed the Electric
Yes,
Car?
who killed it?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of famous people that own these electric cars. I mean, think about it. No money on gas, no oil filters, no oil changes. You know, all you got to do is set up stations around where you can plug in and charge your car. But oh my gosh, that affected the pocketbooks of way too many people. The oil industry, the guys who do the oil changes, the filter industry. You know, too many pocketbooks affected. So they actually crushed. They literally took the people's cars back and they crushed them. And the people were picketing outside of the junkyard, picketing like while they were crushing their cars. Can you imagine?
Well, because all those cars were rented. They were not sold.
That's not what they said in the movie. They were for sale.
Yeah, but
And they were actually had started setting
They
up
were leasing
charging
the cars.
stations
They were
around the
leasing.
country. But they didn't think it would be that popular. And it was so popular so fast that they had to squelch it. So anyway, I don't know how we got off on that tangent, but so anyway, we know the plastics are dangerous because they're leaking into the water and they're affecting the fish. So that's a kind of an easy way that we know that that's so dangerous. Oh, we were talking about the 3 commodities. That's right. But I think that was it. So yeah, oil, electricity, and water. And water should be free and clean and available to the world. How many people are dying because of dirty water? Literally millions of people are dying because of dirty water. And greedy companies are taking the water and bottling it and selling it back to us for a profit.
that's the biggest problem in Africa right now. Because companies have come in and taken over the water supply in Africa that people can't even drill a well
Yep,
on their land.
That's sad.
it is sad.
You can't drill a well in this country without putting something in it.
It's true. Spending lots of money and lots of permits.
I think of the state, I live in Missouri, and I think the state's in charge of that, but I know someone drills wells.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good.
I really think the greed starts like in the individual, because if the individual was not greed, the company would not be greed. So we're talking
Sure.
about companies, but we're really talking about it's people behind the company. We talk like about the individual,
You're right.
right?
You're right. It does. And that's what really saddens me, to think about what these companies are doing. You're right. It all comes down to people. People are doing this.
People are doing this.
And it's sad.
Industry,
But what I think, in my opinion, what's happening kind of on that level is that it's a system that they create, that they suck other people into. Okay? Like, believe me, there's a lot of doctors out there thinking that these medications are helping people. They're sucked into a system. They're trained a certain way. One saying I always said about doctors, and I know people get mad, there's a lot of doctors out there a lot smarter than I am, okay? But it's not about intelligence, okay? The phrase I heard one time that made a lot of sense to me is that doctors are trained, not educated. They're trained. They're trained on disease. They're trained on what drug to give you. It's training, okay? You don't have to find the source of what's going on. You don't have to search and ask questions. You don't have to,
Right.
What I've been realizing, it's like they don't put together the puzzle. You go to see a specific doctor, they're not trained like in the whole. They're very specialized in that field, and they stay there. And even though everything affects everything, they don't do the whole thing. And I've been so much, lately frustrated about that, for seeking like answers and not find, because it's just crazy.
Yep. No.
Doctors are not trained on disease. Doctors are trained
Electric
on
cars have to go
symptoms.
on coal.
Exactly. Yep. It's all about symptom care.
Because they're trained to take care of one symptom, but they're not trained to look for the cause of that symptom.
Yeah. Well, of course, if you have a symptom and he takes care of your symptom, then you don't have disease anymore, right?
Wrong.
I mean, if you have pain in your body, it doesn't matter where the pain came from. If he can get rid of your pain, you're healed, right?
Yeah.
Right?
It's the magic.
No, of course. There's a reason we have pain.
But I think that's not the point. You go to the doctor, he has 15 minutes for you.
Yeah.
okay, how about the communication? How about, I mean, it's not just the point of the medication. It's just like he even doesn't get right what you have because he doesn't have enough time.
Right.
You know, he has 10 minutes and that costs you $100.
But see, that's why I'm
you
saying
know.
it's the system. That guy might be a great guy and
Yeah,
a great
I'm
doctor.
Sure. I'm sure.
That's the system that he's in, and he's trapped in that
agree.
system. There's nothing he can do
I
about
agree.
that. He is controlled by these guys up here, the pharmaceutical industries, and this system that's been created. And that's why it's so hard to bring down a system that has trillions of dollars, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they've brainwashed Americans.
Yeah, I've seen like in that movie that a guy asking someone in the plane, I don't know exactly, but he was saying that about the shot for flu, that he was saying that he met like one doctor that would like deal with that, and she would not give to her own kid
Yeah.
the shot for flu. So if a doctor would not give to her kid, you know,
I know.
why should I use? Why should I take?
I know. They actually did a survey a while back. They asked doctors and nurses. They said if you had cancer, you know, would you do radiation and chemo? And 70% of them said they would not. 70% of doctors and nurses. Yet if you have cancer,